Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Costa and Friends podcast, where me and a few friends shoot the shits on everything culture. But today, specifically, I have my guest and good friend, Dominic Vaccaro. But before we dive in, a quick word from our sponsor. Construction DPE for all your construction needs. If you need any landscaping renovation or maintenance on your properties, DPE is the company to call. Construction DPE 450-646-5740. 450-646-5740. Hello, Dom. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so let's just dive in right into our conversation today. Tell me your impressions on last night's game.
I find the Habs played a very solid game defensively. They minimized the total shots on goal. Price at 17 saves, nice shutout. It was a kind do for him. They played very well off in the offensive zone, and I find they played well without the puck.
Yeah, I think also they played a very well game. It was very important for the Canadians to. I don't know if you would agree that the Canadians play their best when they come out the gate strong and they score the first goal. That's when and Kotkaniemi's goal was good for that aspect of coming out of the gate strong. I think it was Kotkaniemi's best game this year. Would you agree with that?
Well, he had a good showing last night. I find offensively his old line had a good groove going on. Well, I find that by them scoring fast and early gave them confidence throughout the game. It was very important, like you said, for them to come out gunning after a week off.
Yeah, I agree.
We're kind of wary of the fact that they couldn't, if they wouldn't have found their legs off the gates, but they came out gunning.
And these the fact that we have these games in hand with especially these teams like Ottawa, like Edmonton and Toronto, that these games straight off coming back from this COVID protocol break, if you want to call it, was important to get those points and stay close in the race.
Well, it was a good thing that we got them on the second night after they played Toronto. I believe Edmonton was kind of mad a bit that they had to play the Habs coming off a road game against Toronto. They had a hard time finding their legs. They were pretty much tired.
Yeah, it was their third game in 4 nights, so understandably that they would be a bit tired. But not to take away anything from the Canadians, because the Canadians played their game. But in the following for the rest of the season, the Canadians have 25 games in 43 days, which that's more than a game every 2 days. And there's 6 sequences of 2 games in 24 hours. How do the Canadians approach this stretch for the end of the season?
Well, I believe they're gonna have to rotate 4 lines the most they can. They're gonna need quite a bit of help from Jake Allen as well.
How many games do you see Jake Allen playing in these last 25 games?
I believe he should play at least 8 games. 8 games. I'd say he's gonna play out of the 6 sequences of 2 games in a row. He should play 1 of the 2, and an extra 2 games in there. We gotta get the price, be fresh for the playoffs. It's gonna help him a lot. And the only way I see him playing less is if the Habs really need wins to make the playoffs. But they're looking kind of good as we speak with the break they had and the games in hand they have on teams that actually lost in the last few weeks, as Calgary has been losing. Has been on a losing streak.
Yeah, they came since Daryl Sutter started. They had a few good games there at the beginning where actually they played the Canadians. and they had that pressure that the Canadians couldn't do nothing about. But since then, they've been having a hard time, and Daryl Sutter has
Also
called out some players.
for the next 25 games, I believe that the depth has to come in good, and that's why if there would be no trade going forward, guys like Byron or Lekanen are gonna get their shot at playing more, and the acquisition of Stahl should help as well to
Yeah.
rotate all four lines.
Yes, because even though Bergevin said he's probably done in dealing, we know that what he says and what he does are two different things. But as for Lekanen and Byron, I think yesterday we could say they showed that they don't want to lose their spot on that roster.
Well, it was kind of surprising, but it was very helpful that they pitched in with a few points.
Yeah.
Lekanen also played a very solid game without the puck. He's always been a responsible kind of player.
Yeah, it's
And he's been
finishing that
in
we have
the
to call him.
rumors for quite some time now that he might be the player that Bergevin would spare to get some salary cap relief. Obviously, is it to make Cole Caufield play at some point, or maybe another acquisition, maybe on defense? That remains to be seen.
I think the Canadians are um, one defenseman away, that a puck moving defenseman, if you will, of playing with Weber, that maybe we could be a strong contender, I think. But do we have the maneuver and the salary cap space to do that? I don't know. Unless we ship one of those two players, Byron would be ideally the one because he's the heaviest on the salary cap. Maybe we would throw in a draft pick with Byron to get a team to take him. But I think I agree with you on that. Lekanen would probably be the easiest piece to move. But when
it would be easier to move a Lekanen as teams are more. I think they wouldn't want Byron and what he brings to the table compared to a Lekanen, which is younger.
yeah, and
So
he's more reliable defensively for his two-way game. So teams like that, especially coaches.
and he's still relatively young, you know. First year, Lekanen scored 18 goals, so he's shown that he can pinch in offensively. The last few years, it's been a bit harder for him, but he's moved up and down the lineup. He can give you good, solid minutes.
Yeah.
I believe teams are more onto Lekanen than a Byron.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Byron's on.
But what we shouldn't put aside from Bergevin is that he always pulls out something out of that.
Yeah, he always does pull a bunny out of that.
He wins his trades. Might not have built a big time winner yet, but he's very good at trading.
But I think he's been better in his second 5-year plan than in his first 5-year plan. But now we finally see. I think he started waking up when he started feeling the heat in the kitchen. You know, that's why all these moves. He made all these moves in the offseason, signing Petrie to a long term, Gallagher to a long term, going to get Anderson, going to get Toffoli, going to get Jake Allen, signing him. So he sees that if this doesn't work out this year, that it will be him on the stepping block, and that's why I think he got rid of Julien. So let's get into Eric Staal. Where do you see Eric Staal when his quarantine is over? Where do you see him in this lineup?
I believe Eric Staal is gonna start as a centerman on the fourth line. Most probably, he'll take Evans' spot. He can go up and down the lineup. He can play big minutes at the end of the game, winning faceoffs. I believe he's at 48% as we're speaking. It's a bit below his average.
Yeah, but with a shitty team like Buffalo, though, too.
But I see him. I could see him replace Suzuki at some point during the last 25 games. If Suzuki is slowing down offensively, maybe give Staal a shot with Anderson and Drouin. Not saying for him permanently, but at games where Suzuki is struggling, I would see him take a spot.
Okay, now at the beginning I didn't really agree, but the way you elaborated there at the end, it makes sense because Ducharme is the kind of coach that likes to switch it up during games. If line is not working, he'll switch it up. So yes, I can see that happening.
I
If
believe the
Suzuki's not having a good
experience
game.
as well that Stahl brings to the table, as
Oh
he
yeah, of
won
course.
the cup with Carolina. He was a very good offensive player. He's a smart player. He's a big guy.
Yeah,
He could go very well with Anderson and Drouin.
and he can play against the top
His
lines
big
also.
game as well. It remains to be seen. He can also play left wing. The last few years, he has played some left wing minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets placed on the left wing at some point.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Even though I think we went to go get him to play center, but I could see that happening. Him playing on the wing when the need arises. How, but in a case where Stahl has to come in, and when Toffoli comes back from injury, well, obviously Frolic I think is the first one that won't play. And then probably Evans, if there's no trade, obviously, probably Evans will be the other one that will have to suffer of not playing when Stahl comes
This
back.
is where this depth comes in handy in the last 25 games, like you said, in 43 days. We're going to need these guys to rotate and be fresh to get the team going. Because I believe when they play lots of games back to back and all a compacted schedule, injuries are going to be very prone to be happening.
Oh yeah, I see a lot of groin injuries, muscle stretches. That's usually what happens when players play a lot of time in a short period. It's gonna be hard for them. But I think it might be an opportunity for them to how we say in French, tisser serré. You know, it's maybe they could turn this around and be a motivator for them, saying it's them against the world.
The best thing that could happen to them is to actually have a sequence where they have 3-4 victories in a row.
Yeah,
where they can really build together and going forward for them to get the points they need to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, it would be ideal for them to stick these 3-4 victories, especially like I said before, because of the games in hand. It would be good, put us back in a tight race, and I think we have the team to battle Toronto for first place. Because Toronto at the beginning, maybe we saw them higher than they are. I think they're falling when as long as the hockey is becoming tighter, as the playoffs are getting closer, we see that Toronto has a harder time to play in a tight hockey. When the game is open, it's easy for them, but in a tight hockey, I see the difference.
Well, Toronto's another story, but I think they're having quite a bit of problems with the goalie situation.
Oh
They've
yeah,
been
especially now.
rotating their goalies. Anderson is out. Their defense is a bit suspect. Great offense.
Yeah,
they'll always find goals from their first line. Every single game, they're constant. But playoffs is all about defense, and Toronto seems as to have been suspect in that area.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. That's why it's. I don't think we'll be able to catch them in first place because of the other teams they're going to play. They're not only don't only play Montreal, so they're going to end up getting those victories against those other teams. So I think they'll finish first. But I think it's important that we finish second for the home ice advantage in the first round. So I think it's important we finish in front of Edmonton. I always mistake Ottawa for Edmonton, but in front of Edmonton. Okay, now let's get in something I think we won't agree on, and that's our friend Caufield. But first, I just want to show our audience a quick highlight reel to get excited about Caufield.
Is it time to lead or is it time to die? Time to raise hell or walk on by. Is there anybody out there that's paying attention? Yeah. Is it time to speak up or time for silence? Time for peace or is it time for violence? Is there anybody out there that's paying attention? Yeah. Tell me what you're trying to hide and what you're running from inside. Cause I got a surprise. We might not make it to the morning. So go on and tell me now. Do you have enough love in your heart to go and get your hands dirty? It isn't that much, but it's a good start. So your hands dirty. I got a skeleton under the floorboard. I got a secret I need you to keep. Run away, you have been forewarned. I don't wanna go off in the deep. If we don't do something, we'll be stuck up in the mud again. Don't wanna mess it up, cause I want everything and nothing. I got a feeling when they're walking on the ceiling that the people need a healing and then tell me what you trying to hide and what you running from inside. Cause I got a surprise. We might not make it to the morning. So go on and tell me now. Do you have enough love in your heart to go and get your hands dirty? It isn't that much, but it's a good start. So go and get your hands dirty. Do you love your neighbor? Is it in your nature?
Wow, thanks to TSN and the University of Wisconsin for the video footage. So, Dom, tell me, was it the good decision to assign him to the AHL?
I personally, I wouldn't have minded him starting off the bat in the NHL. I can see where they're going with this, to send him to Laval. I believe it's mostly because of the cap situation that he was sent to Laval. It can't be a bad thing for him to be sent to Laval. He'll play top minutes, power play time. Believe in the last year, it was important for him at Wisconsin, with Tony Granato as a coach, to get him to another level in his two-way game. He's very sound defensively now compared to a few years ago.
He's better. He's better.
Yes, and you know what? I believe we'll see him before the end of the year. I believe Bergevin wants to open some cap space to get him up with the team, because the Habs don't have that pure sniper, the goal scorer, since Pacioretty left.
That's true. Okay, I agree with that.
He is a pure sniper. That's what he does. He scores goals. At every level he's been, he scored goals. And every level he's been, boys were bigger than him, and he still scored goals. So I believe he will in the NHL as well.
Yeah, goals. I think he will score in every whichever situation he's in. I like the fact that he was assigned to the Rockets for two reasons. One, because I want him to first know what it's like to be a professional and to play every second day and all these things. He needs to learn that, because in university it's much different. I know this season is a bit different because of the COVID. And second reason, I think Joel, just even if it's just 10 games or even 5, just the fact of Joel Bouchard giving him some instructions and telling him how to, and teaching him how to be a pro, I think is going to help. And I want him to have those play 20 minutes a game, have those power play minutes, 2 minutes, even in Laval, he could play the whole 2 minutes on the power play. Leave him on there 2 minutes. Let him get used to it. Let him score his goals. Let him burn the league, get his confidence at the max. And then when there's maybe 10 games left, 15 games left in the season, if it's time and if we have the space, call him up. And obviously, if he's been burning the AHL, call him up, and it's the perfect timing. It's just the fact that him being 170 pounds, I think he needs to mature physically and a bit more of upper body strength.
It will come with time, I believe, his body frame. Also in Laval, he's going into a winning situation, something
that
Rockets haven't been doing for quite a bit of time. I could believe they're first in their division.
Yeah, 14-2-2.
And he'll play top minutes probably with their first tournament with Ryan Paling.
Yeah, I heard the plan is to play him with Paling and Teasdale on that first line. So I think that looks good for him, and I think it's the perfect situation for him to expand, to become the player that we want.
He can be.
Yeah. But since we touched on the Rockets, what do you think of Joel Bouchard and the work, the job that Laval has been doing in developing players more recently since Bouchard is there?
Well, he's been doing a good job. He's hard-nosed with the kids, and he instills his ideas. Players like playing for him, I believe.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think so.
he has shown that the team started winning now. They have a better roster depth as well. The play of Ilanen, which
Yeah,
is injured now, but he was gunning from the beginning of the year.
yeah,
13 points in 17 games for a European player. Still young.
I like it.
I'll probably will see him in the NHL one.
Oh, I think we will. I think we will. Probably not this year, but I think we will. He's uh, he's smart. I like the way. I haven't seen him play that much. Maybe 2 games this year, but I like to see him. I like to see him on the ice. He has. He's maybe not the best skating ability, but he has good vision and he could finish too. So that's pretty interesting. And I like the way Joel Bouchard, especially this year, because they have a lot of players. I think they have a 30-man roster in Laval, and so he's doing a type of rotation where and players are buying in because some players aren't playing every game and they're still buying into his plan.
I
So
see he's
I
been
like that.
playing Cam Illis. He's been playing. They're rotating.
Yeah.
I guess with this COVID, the abundance in the team, players, and he needs some fresh legs to go. And the team keeps winning. Primo's actually having a good, solid year. Fleury on defense, very good. Brooks as well, is playing better than last year. And Ryan Paling, he has leaps and bounds compared to where he was in the beginning of the year.
Oh
He's
yeah.
scoring on the power play, game-winning goals. He's taking his role more seriously
he's
under Ducharme.
finally he's finally learning how to be a consistent player because that was the problem with him last year and the beginning of the year was the fact that he'll come out with a great game but then he'll have 3 4 bad games in a row and finally he's learning I think with time and with the instructions of Joel Bouchard he's learning how to be a consistent player and how he needs to play every game to be successful in the NHL. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree.
Um, as for Primo, hey, I want Primo to play as many games as possible. I think the only time I wouldn't play him if I was the coach would be in on a two games in 24 hours. That's the only time. Other than that, just play Primo, play Primo, play Primo. No worries. Make him gather as many games experience as possible because I see him in the next 3 to 5 years being number one goalie in Montreal. Big statement,
Well,
but
to be a starting goalie, I'd say 3 years above, but I wouldn't say we won't see him with the Habs team as a backup to Price within the next 2 years.
before as part of his process in becoming number one goal, you think be first you would need to be a backup first to Price, maybe sit behind Price and see.
I would say I would give Primo about maybe not next year, but the following year I'd start giving Primo about 25 games as a backup, if not more, 20 to 35 in the NHL.
Yeah, okay, I can
And
see
give
I
him
can
the
see that
most
happening.
games possible this year and next year
Yeah,
with the Rocket. Maybe have some good playoff runs with them and build up confidence. And we'll see going forward. What's the plan with? They have a plan for sure.
I was talking with my friend the other day, and I was telling him about how this year Laval's doing good and everything, and he came up with um, an explanation, if you will, and it made sense. Do you think Laval is doing so good or as good as they are because of the division and the teams they played this year, because of being only in that division of the Canadian teams?
Well, I believe Bouchard has his word in there. He's been coaching them very well. Also, the Habs have more talent on that team than years past.
That's
I
true.
believe the Rocket has more talent on the team than years past. Ryan Paling's maturing quite well. He's finally scoring, playing very well defensively as well. The defense is much better. Brooks is a little bit older. Fleury, older, more mature, uses his body a lot. Offensively, you have Leskinen, which has shown
Yeah.
very good offensive chemistry on the power play with his teammates. Uh, they're gonna
Yeah.
be they're gonna be okay. I find that they're doing quite well considering this COVID season.
Yeah. And Joel Bouchard has had some great words about Leskinen being
There's actually
stepping
rumors
up
of
this year.
Ducharme. we might lose him as a coach. He might get a shot in the NHL, maybe as an assistant to start, but he'll definitely get a shot. His name is out there.
Yes, people are talking about him and the job he's been doing. I don't think he'll go as assistant. I think he'll keep. He'll stay as head coach for now, and but if he does obviously get an interview for a head coaching job, he will take it because, and the Canadians will let him because that's the tradition. We usually let them if it's a position where you move up. Usually let them negotiate for that. But for now, I think he's well, at least for the next 2 seasons. I think he's in place in Laval because in our past we have made mistakes with some players that maybe they excite us a bit in training camp and then they end up making the team instead of continuing their development in the AHL. We've talked about this before. Galchenyuk, Kotkaniemi. In Kotkaniemi's case, I saw the difference. Some people might not agree, but I saw the difference after that stint of 9 games or whatever it was in Laval last year. I know you don't agree, but I see the difference in his play. I see that he shoots more. So I guess Joel Bouchard would tell him, release that shot more often. And now we're starting to see it. And don't forget, he's only 20 years old, so he's still not there yet, but I see the improvement. What do you think?
Well, Kotkaniemi, I guess it was he took it pretty hard going down, but made quite an impression. I believe he had 15 points in 15 games, a point a game in the American League. And when he came back up for the playoffs last year against Pittsburgh and Philly, he showed some great stuff.
Yeah,
I believe with Kotkaniemi, the Habs, it was a need for them, a centerman when they drafted him third overall, but he could have easily been picked at the end of the first round.
could have been a
So
possibility. And we could have picked Brady
we
Kachuk,
got to
right?
give him his time. And like you said, he's 20 years old. He's in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think people are more pissed. Maybe it's about the fact that we didn't take Brady Kachuk. Um,
Well, it's to each his own, right?
yeah,
Uh, Everybody has entitled to an opinion.
of course.
Brady Kachuk is playing some good hockey. He's a type of player that we didn't have prior to acquiring Anderson. He's a go to the net first,
Our
hard nose.
our forward, yeah.
He bangs you up in the corners. He's a big fella. Um, Personally, only time will tell. As Kotkaniemi, he's only 20 years old. He's also playing the center position, which is a bit more complicated.
Yes.
And Brady Kachuk, it's time will tell.
Yeah.
Brady Kachuk's a good hockey player. I'm not gonna say he's not.
Oh no, he's the type of player that Habs fans would fall in love with pretty fast. He would be a fan favorite right away. But I think Kotkaniemi will get there.
In due time.
Yeah, in due time, in due time, in due time. And Brady Kachuk is older too, almost a full year. So always have to keep that in mind. And Kotkaniemi has had his points in the NHL. It's just the consistency's not there. But it's normal at 20 years old. It's only normal that he'll have time to adapt fully to the NHL game. Okay, now we can talk about the eternal French city debate where always the French players will always have a spotlight on them. Some say the media defends them. Some say we're too hard on them. I want your opinion on Danault and Drouin.
Jonathan Drouin is actually playing a very solid season to his standards. He's playing first line minutes. Some nights yes, some nights no. But he's been more consistent with the puck. I would just like for him to shoot more on that.
Yeah.
He's always trying to find the perfect play. He's always trying to find the open teammate, which is also it's good, but yes, he needs to take a shot some more and more.
Do you think
It
his
is something
injury,
I'm missing.
his wrist injury, has something to do with him not taking as many shots as we'd like him to take?
Well, I believe it's because he sees himself as a playmaker,
Yeah.
and He's always trying to do the perfect play. There's no perfect play. Put the puck on the net.
Yeah.
Rely on your shot sometimes. Because he has some openings.
Oh
And he
yeah, of course.
decides to pass the puck. Again, last night in the first period, there was 2 or 3 times where I noticed he could have shot the puck and he
Yeah.
decided to pass.
And he
And
becomes
he
predictable. He
needs to
becomes
be more
predictable.
confident with that.
Yeah. Because
Uh,
the other teams, after a while, they see what he's about
they
to do.
know what your first intent
Exactly.
of doing is pass the puck.
Exactly. So it becomes predictable, and sometimes it's
As
hard.
for Dano, Dano came into a situation where the Habs didn't have a first centerman. He's played quite well for the Habs. He's logged in good minutes, solid two-way player. He, from here to the end of the year, I see him shutting down the opposition's best line as it gets hockey gets tighter right before the playoffs. Um, Unfortunately for him, the book is out. He's a third center.
Yeah.
Some nights injuries, he'll play second line. He's not a first line center.
No.
And the expectations for him have exceeded through times. They get bigger because he did some 50-point seasons, yes. But as the team gets better and more talented, he's going to go down in the depth chart.
Yeah. When have you seen a first line centerman that can score more than 15 goals? It doesn't happen.
Yeah, definitely.
But I've always defended Dano, and because I like that he plays against the best lines, and he's usually able to shut them down. He's done it against Crosby. He's done it against McDavid. McDavid had 0 points against the Habs. If you saw yesterday, I don't know if you noticed this, but he's all even when McDavid doesn't have the puck, Dano is always on his back. Always, there's no space to breathe. And in hockey, if you don't have the puck, you can't create offensiveness. So I think he does the job that way. He could be one of the best third liners in the league on a championship team.
See, this.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. I believe because the Habs, let's say right now, you look at the depth chart. They have their first 4 centermen, including Stahl.
Yeah.
I would say I leave out Evans. You have
Yeah.
Suzuki, Kotkaniemi, Dano, and Stahl.
Yeah.
On any given night, it could change.
Yeah.
Who's your first? Who's your second? Who's your third? Who's your fourth? Who's gonna play better?
Yeah. It's
Who's
on
more
that
willing to give
game.
it a
Yeah.
shot? I believe that the rotation will be there. They're gonna go with 4 lines and rotate them because 25 games in 43 nights it's not easy. It's gonna be hard, and that's this is the beauty where Dano is gonna come in, and we're gonna need him to play those solid minutes against the big lines.
Especially when we play superstars like McDavid or Austin Matthews or Crosby. Because look, if I look at yesterday's ice time, we have Dano had 18 minutes 56 seconds, which was the highest, if I'm not mistaken, was the highest. Yes, he was the highest offensive player. Then we have the closest there was Nick Suzuki after with 1 minute less.
Well, you have to consider he lodges all these minutes because at the end of the games you need him. He plays PK minutes. He'll take the important face-offs. He's at 52% this year, which is just below his yearly average in this last few years, but he's still doing very good. And we need him to win those face-offs because Suzuki's 40%, Kotkaniemi's a 48%, just like Stahl.
Yeah. I think that's why Stahl is going to help in that situation because now you don't only have one option to send out an important face-offs. You have Stahl to send out 2. So I think that's going to put a bit of pressure off Dano in those important face-offs, especially like in overtime where Ducharme, I don't know, for some reason had this love affair with sending Dano and Byron at the beginning of the overtime, but it didn't work out a lot. And then finally, when he didn't start them, they end up winning their first game in overtime. So I think that's going to help the bringing in Stahl to help with that load of face-off wins.
Yeah, obviously, and looking forward to seeing him play next week. It's going to be quite exciting to have Everett Stahl in a Habs jersey.
Do you think that Dano will end up signing an extension?
That remains to be seen.
Not for the money he's asking.
I believe the Habs will sign him. because he's been quite good for them. Depending on how much money he wants, I believe he's a 4.5 at most. I would sign him for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I at that money, but Dano has maybe other ideas in his head. Remains to be seen. How much money will they have? Because it's going to be a flat cap. The cap
Yeah.
won't be going up.
For at least the next 2-3 years. Yeah.
So we'll see. I believe he will sign with that.
If he ponders his demands, I think he'll sign. If he sticks to his 5.5-6 million a year, I don't see him signing. But hey, yeah, if that's the case. But I'm ready to give him. I'm ready to give him 4 million for 5 years. Take 20 million. You're on a team that has a good chance of contending for a championship. So I think if you're the player, I think you are, and you want to win, I think that 1 million, 1.5 million shouldn't be the difference maker in your decision. I think that's my opinion on that. Okay, so let's get into Ducharme. The work he's done since he became head coach of the Canadiens. Him and Alex Burrows for the power play, just in the power play. We're talking about here since Ducharme took over, they're at 33%. They're first in the league in the power play. You see that improvement in the power play, don't you?
The power play has improved leaps and bounds. I gotta tip my hat off to Burrows on this one. He got it going. I believe the Kotkaniemi line on the power play is outproducing the one of Suzuki.
Yeah.
They're scoring at a fast pace, something we haven't seen in the last 2 years. I believe Julien was and Muller weren't getting the job done, and it was one of the reasons why they got fired. After 2 or 3 years where your power play is underperforming, they're gonna jump the gun on you and you're gonna get fired.
I think it was predictable every time. It's just try to get the puck to Weber and that slap shot from Weber, and nobody would
As
be
for
moving.
Ducharme, I believe he needs to get into the playoffs. He needs his team to play well, maybe win a round for him to stay. And it's all going to depend if Bergevin stays. If Bergevin stays, I believe he's going to give Ducharme a shot. That's why he went and get him 4 years ago, for an assistant job. There was always the plan for him to become coach.
I agree.
If Bergevin does get fired, I believe the new guy coming in will fire Ducharme.
Yes, yes, I think I could agree with that. That if Bergevin stays, but I think Bergevin will only stay if we get out of the first round. Anything less than getting out of the first round, Bergevin is out because it's enough. It's enough time he's there. He's had his chance with all the acquisitions and the money he spent in the off season. It's make it or break it for him. I like what Ducharme has been doing. I saw right away in the first game that that he was coach. I saw the difference, the different style he was trying to implement. Basically, not use the boards, not go along the boards. Try to transport the puck through the neutral zone, go into the offensive zone. A bit less of the dump and chase. The defensemen, they don't pinch too much. They back up and they stay and they wait for the guys to come instead of pinching all the time. Even though he still wants Petry to take that space when that space is available, but not to be pinching all the time. I saw that right away. I like what he's been doing. It takes time, especially in a condensed season where we don't have a lot of time to practice. I think it will take a bit more time than usual to implement his style 100%. I think he's the first coach, if I'm not mistaken, but if somebody's listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the first coach to win the Memorial, the first NHL coach to win the Memorial and to win the gold medal at the World Juniors. So I think he's been doing good, and like we said, the power play has been doing good.
Now, I also like the relentlessness of our forecheck. It's a fast-paced forecheck. He's sending 2-3 guys up top on the defensemen of the other team. He's putting pressure on them, and I like that. It's causing a lot of mistakes. The Habs keep getting turnovers, and that's where you capitalize and score some goals.
I
by
agree.
getting to
I,
make these mistakes.
I agree 100% with that, and I do like that. It's just one thing that bothered me about that type of style is when we played Calgary, and we would come out of that battle because we'd always send that second player to support, but then there was always a player right there, not even a meter away, and we couldn't deal with that pressure, and he wasn't able to adapt in that second game either. And that's where I have a bit of a problem. The only problem I have with Ducharme was the inability to adapt to that.
Yes, they do have a hard time against Calgary. But it's the type of play they want to play. I guess it's for him to adjust during the game
Yeah,
and maybe change his format when he plays when he sees his team can't get the forecheck that he wants. So
yeah.
remains to be seen for Ducharme until the end of the year. They need to show some solid games, win a few, get into the playoffs, win one round, two rounds. You never know.
Yeah.
And if Bergevin stays, I believe Ducharme will stay.
Yeah, I could agree with that. But okay, let's talk a bit about in the case that Bergevin doesn't stay and Ducharme doesn't stay. I been wanting this for quite a few, maybe 2-3 years already. I've been asking for this, but it's these two guys right here. These two guys right here, Patrick Roy as GM and Bob Hartley as coach. Do you see that as ever being a possibility?
I've read an article in the last week or so about Bob Hartley's in Russia right now. And once his contract is done with the COVID implications, he's above 60 years old. He would like to retire and go back home to his wife. Also, if the Canadians call you, you will listen.
Oh yeah.
He's going to listen. If it was up to me, yes, I would like to see Roy one day take the reins over as a GM. I don't know if his time is now, but eventually I would like for him to get a shot. He's won for us. He's a proven competitor, a winner.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do anything that he needs to do to get this team winning. It remains to be seen if one day
It will happen.
the Habs or Molson will give him his chance. And no, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind for Roy to come in and prove himself as a GM of the Montreal Canadiens.
I think the spot for him would be GM because coach in the NHL you can't be both coach and GM. It's too much of a workload, and I think Juan needs to be the boss. He can't have nobody on top of him. He needs to choose the players, and I think that would be the best position. And I think even on top of that, I'll even add a cherry on that Sunday. I think Molson doesn't know enough about hockey to be the boss of the boss. So I'd like to see a vice president of hockey operations type position being formed in the Habs organization. And I would like to see a style of Vincent D'Anfos in that role. And then Roy and Hartley are my dream team as front office of the Canadiens. Will it happen? I don't know, but that's my dream team.
It would be a very good plan to have a president of operations in place, get Molson out of there, and focus on something else.
Focus on the business part.
Hockey people to take over and get the job done.
Because I think he was manipulated a few times in these last 9 seasons by Bergevin, by buying into whatever Bergevin was selling, and not having the hockey knowledge to be able to push back a bit and say, okay, that doesn't make sense, or I don't agree with that, or something. He would just leave him go and no pushback because he just doesn't know the game as well as he should. So I think a president of hockey operations or vice president, whatever, would be ideal in that position to know. And let's say if something that the general manager does that he doesn't agree with, at least he could debate with him why he doesn't agree with it.
I do believe if Bergevin gets fired, Molson will hire president of operations, and he'll let the president of operation hire his GM, and the GM is going to hire his coach.
Yeah, that would be the way to go. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. 100%. So where do you see, what's your prediction of where the Habs will end up in the standings after these next 25 games?
I believe the Habs will finish third or fourth in the division.
Oof.
They'll make the playoffs. I believe Toronto will go first. Winnipeg will go second.
Oh,
And Edmonton and the Canadians will leap each other into third and fourth.
oh. So you see Winnipeg being in front of Edmonton and Montreal.
Winnipeg is a very well coached team with Paul Maurice. He's been working wonders with the type of defense he has. No big name.
Oh, that's
Maurice
true.
Pionk. They traded Trouba for Pionk, which is
Yeah.
great trade. I didn't believe in no name. We played good with the Rangers his first year, but he was still relatively a no name to get for Trouba.
Yeah.
And they've been doing very well. Also, with all the problems that the top players had with Patrick Lane, they still kept winning. They traded Lane for
I think they won that
Jeremy
trade.
Dubois. I'm high on Dubois. I believe he's a very good player. Winnipeg seems to win again. I'm telling you, the coach has a lot to do with it. They're a very well coached team, and I believe they're just a bit underneath Toronto at this point. Great goalie as well.
And how impressive is Kyle Connor, bro?
Wow.
That's
He'll be
a
scoring
player,
30-40 every year.
I think that's why they gave them the luxury of being able to ship
That's
Laney.
why Laney was so expendable
Yeah.
for them to get a prize centerman in Dubois.
Yeah. I think that gave them the leeway that they needed to trade Laney and go get a centerman in Dubois.
I believe Edmonton, they with the Habs, they have their ups and downs, the same as the Habs. I'm not too crazy about their defense or goalie, Edmonton, but offensively, their first line is a go-getter. They're constantly scoring points, scoring goals. They have no problems to win those games 6-4, 5-3 every night.
Okay, I'll put my neck out and I'll predict, and this is being recorded, so it will be thrown in our faces later on. But I will predict. My prediction is the Habs will finish in second place.
Second place.
Yeah, second place. I think this week off gave them a chance to start fresh. I know it's a lot of games in a short period, but I think all the pieces are there right now with a balanced four lines. Chariot apparently is ahead of pace to come back a bit earlier than he was supposed to.
So he started skating by himself already.
Yeah. So I think that will help. And I think we have the team to be in front of. We play good against Winnipeg. We play good against Edmonton. We basically play good against everybody except Ottawa and Calgary. And we haven't been able to beat Toronto, but we play good against Toronto. So eventually that will shift. But my prediction will be second place. So I want to get into a bit of fantasy before we move on to another sport. In 2009, I don't know if you remember, there was a trade in place for Vincent Lecavalier, okay? And I'll just show here the picture of the trade that was to be done, okay? The trade that almost happened. In the 2009 offseason, Vincent Lecavalier was being actively shopped by the Lightning. Montreal reportedly offered 22-year-old Carey Price, 20-year-old PK Subban, 21-year-old Max Pacioretty, and a first-round pick. But eventually, it didn't work out because Lecavalier refused in his no-movement clause, and the trade fell through. So considering that Lecavalier had still a good 5 years in him from the 2009 to the 2014 season, and considering that the Canadians went to the Final Four in 2010 and in 2014, what is your opinion on would the Canadians have been a better team if that trade wouldn't have fell through?
Obviously, on paper, with what we know today, the trade wouldn't have been a good thing for the Habs. Now, I would also like to add that the trade didn't happen and the Habs didn't do any much more.
No, but
they didn't win no Stanley Cup. Price has a $10.5 million against the cap. Pacioretty isn't there no more. We all know what happened to PK Subban. So if the trade would have happened, what's the direction that the Canadians would have took? We don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't know. We're just speculating and fantasizing, but
But by stats, yes, we would have lost that trade because following 2009, Le Cavalier didn't really have a better showing neither. He
no, I
was
think
on the decline.
yeah, he was starting the decline. He was still starting the decline. He still had some good seasons. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 2011 that he had a pretty good season where he had a few problems with injuries. Then he came back at that strong season. I think it would have been too much of a spectacle for a player of Le Cavalier's standard and on the decline, but at the beginning of his decline, and it would have been too much pressure for him in Montreal. And considering what we
Could have
have,
very well played out badly with
yeah,
what we've seen with French-born
yeah,
players in the past, or it could have been vice versa, blessing in disguise. We could have went in another directions during all those drafts. Uh, we'll never know.
no, we'll never know. We'll never know. But it's funny to
It's just
say
I
that.
don't want to knock. I don't want to knock the fact that, oh my God, thank God we didn't do it, because the Habs did not win more
Yeah, no,
with the same players that were mentioned in that trade.
that's true. That's definitely true. We did make the Final Four, and maybe 2014, um, with that Price injury against the Rangers, things could have been different. I still don't think we would have been able to beat Los Angeles in the finals because they were just too big, strong, and fast. But I definitely think we would have beat the Rangers if Price wouldn't have got hurt. But we're only speculating, and only God knows what would have happened if Price wouldn't have got hurt, or if that trade would happen. I just thought it would be interesting. It would have been interesting to talk about because we're talking about Carey Price, PK Subban, and Pacioretty, which Pacioretty could end up giving us Suzuki and Tatar. So I think it wouldn't have been a good trade. I think it would have hurt the Canadians, and I don't think we would have made those Final Fours. But I ain't Nostradamus, and I can't predict the future or change the past. So I just thought it would be interesting to bring up. What was your opinion on
Everyone
that?
has a different opinion on it. I believe too we would have probably not done great if the trade would have went down,
Yeah,
and we didn't do great, and the trade didn't go down. So
that's true. That's true. That's also true. I agree with you on that. But if anybody has a different opinion on that, leave your comment in the comment section, and I'll be happy to interact with you. Okay, so now let's move on to the NBA. We've all seen, okay, this all started basically with the Boston Celtics back in the day with Garnett and Paul Pierce. And what was the third member of that big three? Paul Pierce,
Garnett, Pierce, and Allen.
and Ray Allen, yes. So they basically started all that. And then we saw, obviously, the LeBron move to taking his game to Miami. We saw how that turned out, and now we have taking it to the next level, because I think this is even bigger than those situations. Is the Nets putting together a team of Kevin Durant, LaMarcus Aldridge, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, DeAndre Jordan, sorry, and Blake Griffin. Do you think this is good to the league? And basically, they're the favorites to win the championship right now.
On paper, they are favorites to win the championship, but paper does not win championship.
No,
Now, is it good for the NBA? I believe it's not good for the NBA because it's going to give ideas to a lot of players in the offseason to talk to each other and say, look, I'll take a few millions less, come and play with me. And then we have a 4-team NBA.
yeah,
Take it or leave it. It's those teams, and that's it. That's all. Is it good for the sport? I believe it's not good for the sport. I believe it waters it down. The NBA is probably in dangerous grounds now. Players colluding to play with each other. Can they stop free agents from signing with a certain team? No, they can. They can't. So it'd be hard to stop this from
I
happening?
I think a more strict salary cap would be the way to stop it from happening because they do have that luxury tax thing and they have loopholes they can use.
Obviously, but the thing with the NBA is in the last 2 years, the salary cap went up $43 million.
Yeah, that's that too. Yeah,
And that's a lot of money. They went from 50 million to 90 million within 2 years.
yeah, it is a lot of money. That's a lot of money you can throw at
Those are big
players.
contracts to give. You can you can take 3, 4 guys, give them max contracts, give them big, and just fill up your bench with role players that want to win their championship,
And
which can still give you good minutes.
yeah, and the fact that the roster is smaller in the NBA gives you the leeway to sign more expensive players, if you will.
Well, I believe the Nets now they have their upper hand on the league. They have a starting five, which is big scoring machine. Uh, LeBron's Lakers are up there, but they're missing the depth that the Nets have.
Full disclaimer: me and Dom are both Lakers fans, so full disclaimer, and just wanted people to know. But the Lakers, let's talk about them. I think already Davis injury was a big hit, and now LeBron being gone, and now people all putting their hopes in Drummond. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think about the Lakers?
Well, you know what? The Lakers, the problem is Davis is injured, LeBron is injured. LeBron is 36 years old, not getting any younger. Uh, I don't know. The Nets they're a scary team. I don't see any other team except for the Nuggets, maybe. The
The
Nuggets
Nuggets,
have a good starting five.
the Nuggets did
Young
improve.
players, hungry players that haven't won yet. I could see maybe them making a surprise. The Clippers, I don't believe too much in them. Look, last night they had a 11-point lead going into halftime against Orlando that traded everyone at the trade deadline, and they lost the game by 5.
Mm.
Uh, it remains to be seen, but the
Yeah,
Nets are above right now.
the Clippers are a mystery because sometimes they look like one of the best teams in the league, and then sometimes they look horrible. Um, that is something I see in the Clippers. I love the Nuggets. I love the Utah Jazz. Um, I love Damian Lillard, but he's not well surrounded enough to push for. He'll definitely make the playoffs, I think. And he might even get out of the first round, but it will be too hard, not surrounded. But I love Damian Lillard.
I believe the West is more up for grabs than the East
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
Nets. Like you said, Utah Jazz, the Lakers, the Clippers, maybe the Nuggets. There's quite a bit more competition coming out than in the East, where it's one super team,
Yeah.
which I believe is not good for the NBA.
No, who could even come close to competing with the Nets in the East? Maybe what, the 76ers?
Well, everybody, Boston is playing way underwhelming their
Yeah,
talent right now. The Toronto Raptors isn't the team we've seen in the last few years. Miami isn't the team that we saw last year in the finals.
at
Uh,
all.
the Pacers have created young guns. I believe the East is pretty much the Nets as of right now.
The red carpet has been rolled out for the Brooklyn Nets to make it to the NBA Finals, and hopefully, uh, what's the word on Davis? Is there a chance he might come back for the playoffs, or we
Durant?
forget? No. I mean Davis, Anthony Davis.
Yes, there's chances you'll be back for the playoffs as LeBron as well before the playoffs during the season to come back and finish off the season and get into the playoffs in shape.
Okay,
Uh, are they still gonna be banged up? Most probably. But the Lakers and LeBron, you can never count them out.
no. If Davis and LeBron are back in, you could always throw them in the mix because they'll always dangerous, and LeBron will be LeBron, even though he's not my favorite person in the world, but I highly respect the player he is, the dominance he's had in the NBA, and the talent that he has. So I definitely can push for that, and he's playing on my team. So I'll go for him for now. Okay. So that was our NBA chat. Now let's talk a bit about the NFL free agent. I want to elaborate on the Bucks being the first team in the salary cap era to bring every single player back from a championship team. Can the Bucks and Tom Brady repeat and win the Super Bowl?
They could, but it's a long season. Guys will get banged up. Uh, it's probably the sport with the most parity.
Yeah.
It's gonna be very hard to beat. Brady's not gonna get younger. Can they? Yes, they can. I highly doubt they will win a second championship as teams are gonna be coming for them. And the age for Tom Brady is just skyrocket. But it's very impressive that they signed every single starter back. That means they all believe in the system. They believe in Tom Brady. Restructured his contract for them to have more money around, as Evans did.
I don't know if you have your hand in front of the mic, but I can hear you less now.
He restructured his contract, and they got everybody back. I tip my hat off to them. It's an impressive feat.
Yeah.
They will be the team to beat.
Oh yeah, when you sign a player that was so important in the Super Bowl like Fournette to a $4 million contract to come back, that shows you that this team wants to stay together and wants to compete for another title. That's for sure.
That's what it shows, that the good chemistry, team leadership. They believe in the whole system they put up from the Ducharme, Bruce Arians, and Tom Brady. The satisfaction of another Super Bowl at the top of it was the second one.
Yeah, it was they won their second, and now they're gonna push for a third. But who do you think outside of Tampa Bay, with the free agency moves, improved their team compared to last year?
Improved their team, I believe. Like the Cardinals improved their team. Relatively young quarterback, but the team was improved. The addition of Watt on defense is a very good addition. The Rams, they got Matthew Stafford as a quarterback. Yeah. I find it's an upgrade, and we can finally see maybe Stafford with a very good defense and a good solid offense. What he can bring to the table and get this team to win the finish first. And West Division. I believe the Buffalo Bills are gonna still be a very good team as Kansas City. They brought in offensive line power. KC is gonna be a dominant team based.
Well, KC is going to be strong with Patrick Mahomes, probably one of the best quarterbacks in the league for the next 10 years, 7 to 10 years, guaranteed. Kansas City will be in the mix every year, I think. But I do agree that our division got better. So when I say our division, which is because we're 49ers fans, and definitely the Rams got better. The only team that didn't get better was Seattle. But how do you see our team? How do you see the 49ers in that division, playing in that division? How hard is it going to be for them? Or are they going to compete for that division?
Well, you see the Rams with Matthew Stafford, and you see Arizona had J.J. Watt. These are big-time players that can change a whole game by themselves. I believe those two teams got better. The Niners just traded for the third overall pick in the draft, believing they will pick their quarterback for the future. They will get better. Don't count out on all the injuries they had last year. They're all be coming back. The team is officially better by having all their players back this year from injury.
Bosa will be out. Remains to be seen which quarterback they take. Shanahan is a offensive guru. I believe he get his
One of the
team
best, yeah.
going for the next season. So out west is up for grabs for me at this point in time. I believe all four teams can finish first. The divisional matchups are going to play a big part this year on who ends up being first and taking the division.
Yeah, because if we're not mistaken, it's this season right away. They're moving up to 17 games.
Yes.
Okay, so that extra game is going to come in play.
There's going to be less games during the preseason, I believe, and the season will start a week earlier, and they'll be playing one extra game going forward.
I think it's good because you won't have no more 500 teams, the 8-8 teams. So now it's going to be either you have a winning record or a losing record. I think that's good for the league having one more game. Maybe the players, but since they play one less preseason game, I don't see it that much gonna be too hard for the players.
A lot of owners, GMs, team executives, they were thinking that it was a long 1 month, 4 games preseason. A lot of players were getting injured in those games, and because it's a 16-game season, guys are missing 8 games. It's half a season, 4 games. It was too much for them.
Yeah,
they need their players. Less injuries. Football is a very rugged sport, and they cut it down.
oh yeah,
it's a good thing for them.
I think
more seasonal games is more money.
Yeah, oh yeah. Already that the NFL will always find a way to make more money. They're the most popular sport in North America. They make over $10 billion in revenues a year. So I think, yeah, it's crazy. They don't even need
$312 million for everything.
Yeah, and they don't have that difficulty, like especially in the COVID time, where like the NHL has, where the NHL needs people in the stands because 70 to 75% of their revenue come from ticket sales. When as the NFL, even they don't need the people in the stands. They make so much money from TV rights, and they have bigger stadiums, so they can put in an 80,000 stadium, they can put 25,000 people social distancing, and they still have 25,000 people in their stadium. So the NFL is pretty good in money wise. They'll be okay. I want to touch a bit on the NFL about players not getting the like Dak Prescott, for example, signing that basically the most expensive contract for a quarterback other than being named Patrick Mahomes. How these players don't see what Tom Brady's been doing all his career and how he's been winning all these championships by taking less money, just like he did this year by reconstructing his extension in his contract. And they don't see that money comes in handy to surround your team with better players to give you a chance to win. What do you see about what do you think about all these players these quarterbacks making $50 million?
What he does because he's won so many championships. He has so much money. Other players are like, I put my body down the line. I get hurt. I might have CTE for the rest of my life. Might have 10 concussions a year. I get hit. I get hurt. I'll make my money. And there's no wrong into that.
No. There is no question of judging.
And I tip off my hat to Tom Brady for taking less money. It's not a very easy thing to do. It's easier for him because he's got so much compared to players that just started in the league.
And an injury can happen. And even though quarterbacks usually have quite a bit of their contract in guaranteed money, injuries can happen in a flash of a moment in the NFL, and your career is over. I understand that, but I think like instead of taking like he was refusing, Dak Prescott had refused $33 million. Okay,
the NFL has an average per player of career is less than 3 years.
Yeah,
it's between 2 and 3 years. You're either out of the league, retired, or you're playing depth chart football
on the practice squad.
So I understand when they want to make their money.
I understand,
because you
especially in
start
role
and go
positions.
down very fast.
Yeah, but
So
if we
when you
just,
have a chance to make the money, you make the money.
of course, and
And most guys are heavy spenders, big spenders.
they have that
So by the time
lifestyle.
they get their first million or two, it's already gone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's definitely true. But I think more that comes into effect more with role players, where these players are the ones that average 3 years in the league. But I think in the quarterbacks usually play a long career, even though they get injured too, and there's some exceptions. But I think it's the quarterbacks which go get that 40, 35, 40, 50 million. It's those players that could take a cut of 5, 6 million and still have plenty of money and would help their team make it as far. Like for example, Tariq Hill just announced 2 days ago that he is in no way uh, reconstructing his contract. He goes, I signed the contract. That's my money. You guys pay me, which I agree. It's a signed contract. It's good. But now the Chiefs want to maybe go get a missing piece that's going to help the team make it that extra step and go back to the Super Bowl. And now they maybe won't be able to go get it because Tariq Hill doesn't want to reconstruct his contract, or Patrick Mahomes signed that $50 million contract. I think that's where it hurts. It's in the quarterbacks that I'm more concentrated on. It's these guys that have the ability because of the rules. The rules change, like the Tom Brady rule and the late hits on quarterbacks. Quarterbacks are more protected than the other players. So I think they have that leeway, and they make so much money that they have that leeway to take a bit less and try to make a better team. Now, who am I? I don't know if in that situation, $5 million is $5 million. Would I be willing to make less $5 million when I'm making 30 million a year? I don't know, because I'm not in that situation and I don't want to judge, and I'm not in the position to judge. I'm just speculating on the fact of what Tom Brady has done, and these always guys saying, but how does he do it? Keeps on winning. But it's right there in front of you how he's doing it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. What Tom Brady does is it gives him a bigger chance of coming back to the championship because uh, bigger leniency to his team to go after some free agents or go through the trade way and get some big time players to help him out to get there again. I understand what he does, but I also understand the player that says, I want to get paid and I'm going to get paid because my body's been taking a beating since the age of 14. And I don't know how much time I'm going to be in this league. So I'm going to get my money.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that sentiment for sure. These guys
You have to
do
think
put their
Tom
body on the
Brady
line.
as well. He's making money with his sponsorships,
Yeah,
stuff that other players don't have.
it's true, and he's worth $200 million.
He's got a wife that makes about 100 million as well.
Oh yeah, she's worth more than him actually. I
But
think
outside,
she's worth 400 million, and he's worth 200 million.
there you go. It's a lot easier doing it when you're in that position
Yeah,
than when you have a guy that's a running back and he's like, I'll be in the league about 8 years. So the first three, I'm on my rookie contract, and the last five, I'm gonna cash in on my 50, $60 million.
true. Especially, you made a good point there. Especially in the running
On
backs
my
who have a short
side,
career.
I'd cash in for all the money. I want to state that clear.
Yeah.
50 is very important.
I don't know. I don't know what I would do. I don't know, because I'm not in that situation. I probably would take the pay cut to try to win the championships, because the chip is always important to me, baby. We gotta win the chip. We gotta win the chip. So now it's only the Canadians' time to win the chip. Hopefully,
Hopefully, we'll see another one in our lifetime.
because 1986, I really didn't see it much. Got to live 1993, pretty fun. It was pretty fun to live that one, but I would like to live one as an adult too. So hopefully we'll get to see it in our lifetime.
Yeah. I'm waiting
All
for
right,
it.
Dom. It was great having you on. It's been an hour.
Yes, Costa, it was a good time. Hopefully, we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, we should
I want to thank
do it.
the audience.
We should do it one coming up soon. Maybe we can talk about baseball and the Euro coming this summer.
Yes, no problem.
All right, Dom. Thanks for
Thank you
coming
very
on.
much. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys, for listening. Hope to see you soon.
All right.